intentional. So that can lead to just being disconnected from your actions. Across is used the King of Wands, so that can be that feeling of disempowerment, and that sometimes this happens when an unwanted event occurs and you feel this sense of, I wish that hadn't happened, why did that have to happen? And in those types of cases, the person is looking at it from the perspective of the outer world has to conform to some standard, and you are just there, helpless, and you don't have any kind of say in anything. Well, I don't personally believe that. I think that you do have some kind of power, but you have to assert it. And so an example of this is, let's say that you did lose your job or have been laid off. Maybe it's not like a permanent thing, but you feel that stress because it's back and forth. That kind of thing can be used as a springboard for you to find other avenues to make money, to invest your time, in a particular job. I'm sure there are other things that are going on that are not really aligned with what you are all about. But sometimes it's easier just to stay where you are, because when somebody's already stressed out, it's like the idea of changing feels so overwhelming that they just kind of accept the devil that they know. But it's always good to explore other options. And same thing with relationships. If you have broken up with somebody recently and it wasn't something that you personally wanted, if you reflect upon it, you will often find that it really was for the best. And there are plenty of times when you might get broken up with and the other person decides to tries to get back with you, and you're like, no, I don't really want to. Now that I have tasted what it's like to be free of that situation, I'm happy. And that's really what the King of Wands is about, your autonomy and your sovereignty at the highest level. And this isn't something that you snap your fingers and it happens overnight. So I'm not being simplistic here. I'm just suggesting that it's possible if you are approaching it with the right attitude. Because if you believe that it's possible, it's going to manifest a lot easier. But a lot of times people, they get so jaded that they think that, nope, I don't have any power. Well, then that's how it's going to show up for you. What's coming in is the Five of Pentacles, and this is that card of lack consciousness. Really, what it is you have to remember that lack consciousness does not mean that the person actually has lack. This is a state of mind. It's also been noted that these people who are depicted as down and out, they have their backs to the stained glass window, which represents the church. And so they have turned their backs on God because of their situation, instead of connecting even more so. And, it's one of those things where, somebody's like, well, what can you do for me? If you're not going to do anything for me, then I'm not going to pay attention to you. And that's the mentality of God as Santa Claus, and not seeing cause and effect in a person's own life in terms of, what kind of reality have they created for themselves based on past actions and past choices. And it's easy to point fingers at other people and say, oh, this is this person's fault, and not look at oneself. Also, developing yourself spiritually, as an earth sign, you may have a tendency to be more acclimated to things that feel real, that feel tangible. And while that makes sense to a certain degree, there's a saying that man cannot live by bread alone. You cannot be satisfied with just the material. It doesn't work that way. And people don't really connect the dots sometimes. They know that they're unhappy or unsatisfied even though they have everything that they need materially, but they can't, make that leap that it has something to do with nourishing their spirit. And so that's one of the things that I would like to call attention to you about, so that you can contemplate, do you need to kind of develop yourself more in that area? And maybe that has been kind of the poverty or the impoverished state. It's not really the bank account statement, but the inner journey that is lacking. And the Four of Swords may be that first foray into some of those concepts, because you realize that you have to do that. And the same thing applies like if you have lost a loved one and it really hits home about this idea of the temporal nature of life. And I just went to a funeral over the weekend, and I've had like a couple of people die this month. And it's very intense. It's very intense because it's real. It's real and it's not real, because death, I don't believe, is real, but the appearance of the end, the actual end of this particular incarnation is real. And it's like, it blows your mind that somebody that you have known, you will not see in this lifetime again, or interact in the same way. Now, some people might be able to interact with people who have crossed over. So that might not be true, but I'm just saying in general, or at least in the same way that you did when they were in the physical. And being able to understand this and appreciate this and not be discouraged by it is very important. The outcome is the Page of Wands. Start spreading the news. Some kind of thing can feel like good news coming in. That's what I was talking about here. It could come after you've been dealing with a lot, and all of a sudden everything picks up and you're off to the races. And that really is how life goes. We do have our seasons, we have our cycles, and if things have felt a little bit down in the dumps, then you can get picked right back up. And remember that this is a time when you're going to have a new moon in your sign. And I don't know if everybody's having it on the 27th of August, but it's in this time frame of this tarot reading. And some of you are also early degree Virgo, so this will hit you the most. And you will have the sun come into your sun sign, have a conjunction with that. So happy birthday, happy solar return to early Virgos, and I hope all of you have a great rest of August. If you would like a personal reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye. Hi Virgo, welcome to your end of August 2022 General Tarot Update. It's Raina here. Sometimes I'm trying to figure out what time it is, what month, and all of that good stuff. All right. All's well that ends well. So the heart of the matter is the Four of Swords. This is a card sometimes of rest, rejuvenation. So why do you need rest and rejuvenation? Typically because you've just been through a lot and you're kind of getting your strength back with something. And it can feel very important to kind of just let go, even with your thoughts, getting your thoughts in order, but resting your mundane mind from all of the things that, worry you or that you normally focus on. And that in particular is very helpful for Virgos to recuperate, because you do tend to be rather high-strung and worry about things. Being an earth sign, it could be just like practical matters that you are concerned about. And I just think with the past position card, that, this is a card of loss, maybe grief. So if this is connected to a particular relationship that ended, or if it was something even more intense, like a death of someone, a loss of a job, because I do have the Five of Pentacles, which can be about that, that you have had that to deal with, and that may have added to stress and making you feel like overwhelmed. And that's what the Four of Swords can be about. Now, in some cases, you may be at some kind of retreat, or I wouldn't normally say the word spa was coming into my mind, but it really isn't, supposed to be something like that, where it's like this luxury. It's more of I don't know if I'd say a reflection, but it can be like physically relaxing. So I guess everything is relative. But in any case, it's to kind of recover from some kind of a loss, or whether it's emotional or if it's job related. And there is a sense of like where we're at right now. So this is Leo season, and you're Virgo. So the sun is in the 12th house for you. So that definitely goes along with this idea of the Hermit. I always say that the Hermit, I see the Hermit as the major arcana version of this card, and that the Hermit card connects to Virgo. So just this idea of being away from the maddening crowd, far from the maddening crowd. The higher message is the Eight of Wands, meaning that things can spring to life at a moment's notice. And, this is fire energy, so it can be a lot of offers. So if, let's say you lost your job and you feel like, oh my gosh, will I ever get hired again? You could get more than one offer. And you might be a little bit overwhelmed by that, because it's like you didn't expect that. So yes, for sure, you can have things totally turn around right away. I always see this as potential energy. So, when you're supposedly resting and things like that, it can be a time when kind of on the invisible level, everything is getting geared up for when you're able to take advantage of it. So rather than see a time of inactivity as a sign that everything has gone to hell, you can say, this is something that is waiting for me. But I need to kind of regain my strength. I need to, what do they call that? Regroup. That was the word I was looking for. And then you can approach things from a higher perspective, because a lot of times we just get caught up in that hamster wheel, or that kind of like a groove, and it becomes so habitual that you're just kind of doing things very mechanically, and you're kind of mailing it in. You're not really